All right, so get this, right? We're heading down south today.
Down south?
Yeah, way down south. To the coldest place on Earth. We're talking Antarctica.
Oh, okay. I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, to check out a glacier. But not just any glacier.
Okay, what's so special about this glacier?
Well, they call this one the Doomsday Glacier.
Doomsday Glacier. That's,
Yeah, you heard that right. Doomsday Glacier. And we're diving deep into why this glacier, it's called Thwaites, by the way, has scientists kind of freaking out.
Thwaites Glacier. Okay, I've heard of this.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Yeah.
And our main source today is this article. It's called, and I'm not making this up, Antarctica's Doomsday Glacier Accelerates. Catchy, right?
Yeah, they definitely got my attention.
Right. It's from Inventors and New Technology blog. And you know, at first glance, you might be thinking melting glacier, climate change, blah, blah, blah. We've all heard it before.
Right.
But this is different.
What makes this different?
Thwaites, this glacier has the potential to really mess things up.
Mess things up. How so?
For our coastlines.
Sea level rise.
Exactly. So before we go full doomsday on everyone, I think it would be helpful to, understand exactly what we're dealing with here. Paint a picture for us. How big are we talking?
Okay, so picture Florida.
The Sunshine State.
The one and only. Thwaites is basically the size of Florida, over 74,000 square miles of ice.
Wow. That's a lot of ice.
Yeah. And it's all sitting there in Antarctica, not exactly chilling, though.
Not chilling at all.
Yeah.
So we've established that it's massive and it's melting. But what makes Thwaites, the bad boy of glaciers, why the ominous nickname?
It's melting differently.
Differently.
Yeah, see, warm ocean water, and it's really warm for down there, is getting underneath the glacier.
Underneath. How does it get under there?
That's the million-dollar question, or maybe like the trillion-dollar question with the amount of damage this thing could cause.
Trillion. Okay, now you're scaring me. But seriously, how does water get under a glacier?
So Thwaites sits on this bedrock, right?
Yeah.
But it's not above sea level, it's below sea level, and it's not a smooth surface either.
Okay, so not a flat sheet of ice.
No, it's on these giant steps leading up to the glacier. That's what they're calling them. Staircase formations. And the warm ocean water, it flows up these formations like someone left the faucet running in a bathtub.
The Earth's bathtub.
Basically. And it's melting Thwaites from underneath.
So it's not just the air melting it from above. It's like the ocean is sneaking up on it.
Exactly. And as the ice melts from below, the glacier gets thinner, right? Which exposes even more of its base to that warm water.
Like a vicious cycle.
You got it. A vicious feedback loop. And scientists think this whole thing might have been kicked off a while back, like way back in the 1940s.
The 1940s.
Yeah, they're looking at a strong El Nino event back then. Basically, it really messed with wind patterns and ocean currents around Antarctica.
So El Nino pointed a fire hose of warm water at Thwaites.
That's a good way to put it. And it hasn't stopped flowing since.
Okay, so we've got this massive glacier, right? Melting from below, stuck in this crazy feedback loop.
Huh.
And we're supposed to just, sit back and watch?
Yeah, not exactly.
Because the article throws out this number, and it's kind of terrifying.
Yeah, it's a big one.
They're saying if Thwaites melts, completely collapses.
And that's a big if, of course.
Of course. But if it does, global sea levels could rise by, get this, over 10 feet.
10 feet? It's almost hard to imagine.
10 feet. That's not just the beach is a little smaller. That's a whole lot of water.
Yeah, it would reshape the world as we know it.
Okay, so now I'm really starting to get the whole Doomsday Glacier thing. But what does that look like in the real world? Not, disaster movie style, but really.
We're talking entire coastlines redrawn. Gone. Underwater. Cities we know, love.
Underwater.
Yeah, millions displaced. Homes, businesses, gone.
And the economic cost.
Don't even get me started.
Well, the article did mention trillions of dollars.
Trillions, with a T. And that's just the stuff we can put a price tag on.
Right, the human cost, the environmental cost.
Yeah, that's immeasurable.
So we're looking at, potentially, a global catastrophe. But before we spiral into a full-on panic attack, tell me there's some good news here.
There might be a little good news.
Okay, you got to give me something.
They're looking at computer models.
Computer models, right? The article mentions something about that. What are they saying?
They're simulating different scenarios.
For Thwaites.
Yeah, how it might melt, how fast, all that. And there's one scenario everyone was worried about.
The worst case scenario.
The big one. Massive ice cliffs collapsing into the ocean.
Okay, so what did the models say about that?
The likelihood of that happening, it's lower than they thought.
Lower. So we're good, right?
Yeah.
Problem solved.
Not so fast.
What do you mean?
It's good news, don't get me wrong. but Thwaites is still melting, and fast.
So it's like we dodged a bullet, but the firing squad is still out there.
That's one way to put it. We can't get complacent. This research is important, don't get me wrong.
So what now? What are we supposed to do with this information?
Well, for starters, we keep learning.
Keep learning. Okay. Makes sense.
Groups like the International Thwaites Glacier collaboration.
They're the ones doing this research.
Yeah, they're doing amazing work trying to understand these complex processes, make better predictions. But it's not just them, right?
What do you mean?
We all have a role to play. And I think a good place to start is by understanding the different perspectives on this whole thing.
You mean like how people are reacting to this whole Doomsday Glacier situation?
Exactly. And we're better to find that than in the comments section of this article.
Ah, yes, the comments section. The Wild West of the Internet.
It's a gold mine, though, you know. Real people, real opinions.
All right, let's dive in. We've got Trinity, who seems to be taking this all in stride.
Taking it in stride.
Well, they pointed out the irony of stressing about a glacier while SpaceX is launching rockets into space.
I mean, they've got a point.
Right. And then we've got Melissa, who seems to agree with Trinity's overall point. Like, yes, this is scary stuff, but there's a lot going on in the world.
It's about finding that balance, right? Acknowledging the seriousness of the situation, but not getting overwhelmed.
Exactly. And then there's Margaret, who brings up a really interesting point about how this is being reported.
How so?
Well, she feels like some of the coverage is a bit heavy-handed.
The whole doomsday angle.
Yeah. She wants more objectivity, less fear-mongering.
Which is a fair point. We need accurate information to make informed decisions.
Absolutely. And then we have Jonah, who just wants to know what they can do to help.
Which is always refreshing to see, that desire to take action.
Right. It's not just doom and gloom. And then there's Caden, who's connecting the dots between this and other global issues, like the recent gang violence in Haiti.
It's all interconnected, right? Climate change, poverty, conflict, it's all part of the same complex system.
Exactly. And speaking of complex systems, we have Ricardo, who seems to be feeling a little overwhelmed by all of it. They're concerned about the glacier, but also about things like, the economic implications of switching to electric cars.
It's a lot to wrap your head around, for sure.
It really is. But then, on a more optimistic note, we have Eduardo.
Oh, what does Eduardo have to say?
They're suggesting that maybe, just maybe, this whole Thwaites situation could be a catalyst for positive change.
A catalyst? How so?
Well, they see it as an opportunity, right, to accelerate the transition to renewable energy, to rethink our relationship with the planet.
So instead of just reacting to the crisis, we use it as a springboard for innovation.
Exactly, finding the silver lining, right. And then we have Aubrey, who's not afraid to call out what they see as flaws in the article itself.
Oh, like what?
They're questioning the accuracy of some of the predictions.
Okay, so a little healthy skepticism.
Exactly, and they're urging for more nuanced, fact-based reporting on climate change.
Which, let's be honest, is something we all want.
For sure. And last but not least, we have Grayson, who injects a little humor into the mix.
Humor with all this.
They made a joke about how maybe, just maybe, a melting glacier could lead to cheaper consumer goods. I know, something about supply chains and lower prices. It's a bit out there, but it highlights just how interconnected everything is, right?
For sure. The butterfly effect, but with glaciers and T-shirts.
Exactly. So we've covered a lot of ground here. The science, the potential fallout, and even the wide range of opinions swirling around this one glacier. What's the takeaway here?
It's a lot to process, right? I feel like, if nothing else, Thwaites is a reminder that this is real.
This is happening.
Climate change. It's not some, future problem.
It's not something for the next generation to worry about. It's right here, right now.
And it's not just about polar bears and ice caps.
It's about coastlines.
Exactly. It's about people's homes and livelihoods.
And the crazy thing is, it's all connected. What happens in Antarctica
Affects everyone.
The whole planet. It's a reminder that we're all part of this,
This big, messy, interconnected,
beautiful, fragile
system. Okay, so I have to ask, because my brain won't let me not ask this. What can we actually do besides, invest in waders?
For when the sea level rises.
Ah, right. Well, first of all, don't panic buy waders just yet.
Okay, good, go.
There's still time to turn this ship around.
Turn the ship around. Okay, I like that. But how? How do we even begin to tackle a problem this massive?
Well, we have to start somewhere, right? And I know it sounds cliche, but individual actions, they do matter.
Like what? Give me the short list.
Reduce your carbon footprint. I know, you've heard it a million times.
It's true, right?
It's true, every little bit helps. And then, look at the bigger picture. Support policies that address climate change.
Vote for the planet.
Exactly. And think about where your money goes. Support businesses, organizations, the ones actually working towards solutions.
Putting your money where your mouth is.
Right. And don't underestimate the power of just talking about this.
Even if it's uncomfortable.
Especially if it's uncomfortable. Because the more we talk about it, the more awareness we raise. And hopefully...
Hopefully we can make some real change.
That's the goal. So yeah, it's a big problem, but...
But not insurmountable.
Exactly. We have the power to choose a different future.
Okay, I'm feeling a little more optimistic now. But this whole conversation got me thinking, like, really thinking?
Oh yeah. What about...
If we could, like, wave a magic wand and just stop Thwaites from melting? Should we?
That's a big one.
Right. I mean, it's a natural process, isn't it? Glaciers melt. That's part of the Earth's cycle.
But we're talking about accelerating that process on a massive scale.
And the consequences are huge. But who are we to interfere with nature like that?
It's a slippery slope. Where do we draw the line?
Right, right. It's like a real-life ethical dilemma playing God with glaciers.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, what else is locked away in that ice?
Besides, like, a few million-year-old fish fossils.
Who knows what scientific discoveries are waiting to be made? Maybe there's something down there that could help us fight climate change, develop new technologies.
The irony, right. The Doomsday Glacier holding the key to our salvation.
It's definitely something to think about. It's like this giant question mark sitting at the bottom of the world.
A giant melting question mark. Okay, well, on that ominous note.
Sorry to leave you with an existential crisis.
No, it's good. It's good. It's important to think about these things. It's not all doom and gloom.
Exactly. There's hope. There's always hope.
As long as we keep learning, keep talking, and keep pushing for a better future.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, a huge thank you to you for, taking us on this deep dive into the world of Thwaites, the Doomsday Glacier.
It's been my pleasure.
It's been enlightening, to say the least. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us. If you want to learn more about this, check out the original article.
Antarctica's Doomsday Glacier Accelerates. Catchy title.
From Inventors and New Technology blog.
Yeah.
And until next time, stay curious and keep diving deep.